Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and It Came from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and meta pals? Today, we tumble back into the world of metaphysical gifts, paranormal, and extraterrestrial. Joining us, we have special guest Jessiy Hawthorne. Welcome to the show, Jessiy.
Thank you so much for having me, and then thank you for letting me reschedule due to my stepdad having his surgery in February.
Yeah, absolutely. These things happen. Life happens, life comes up. So I appreciate you rescheduling with us to come on because we're very excited to talk to you about all of these amazing topics. When we first talked, you mentioned that you have metaphysical gifts. You're an empath. You're also a Reiki master, and you use sound healing. Can you tell us, how did you even get into that world? How did you first discover your metaphysical gifts?
Yeah, sure. So it kind of correlates with my paranormal stuff as well. I grew up on an Indian burial ground in southeastern Illinois, and I didn't know that it was an Indian burial ground until I was junior in high school when I started researching the property. All I knew was that I would feel stuff all the time, starting at age 5. And my first, supernatural experience that I had that I recall was I was in one of the backyards. So we had over an acre of woods behind our house, and then we had 2 huge yards. One yard was fenced for my mom's dogs, and then the other yard had our sky fort and swing set, and that's where we would play and stuff, my younger brother and me. I was in that yard, and there was a creek that ran in the back. And I remember seeing the top part of a gray's head. So its eyes and up, and it moved to the right, and then it moved to the left. And I think I screamed and I ran back to the house, or I think that's what happened, but I don't recall. So one day I'll probably end up getting regressed. I hope it's not traumatic. I guess I won't know until I get regressed. But that's my first supernaturally type of experience that I remember. And then growing up, I would see these 8 to 10 foot tall black figures with red eyes. Or there was this one time that the eyes were a bluish white color. Didn't know what they were. I just remember seeing them, and the house I grew up in was also an old schoolhouse. So the living room was the schoolhouse area, and then the rest of the house was built onto it, and it had they're called cottage windows, so they're higher up. They're not regular windows where they're waist height. They were higher up, so I would see these figures staring into the windows, and knowing how high they were, it was oh my God, these are really, really tall. So there were times where, so my younger brother, we shared a room when we were kids, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and see something looking in the room, and I would go into his crib when he was young, And my mom said she would always find me like in his crib with him. And she never really understood why. And that's because I was scared to sleep by myself. I actually slept with my mom until I was 13. My dad actually passed when I was 10. And I saw, I think I astraled actually now that I'm researching this stuff and understanding it more. Because when I was younger, I mean, I thought I ran into the room in the hospital when I heard my mom scream, but she doesn't remember me bursting into the door. So I think what happened was I heard her scream and like I astraled out of my body, and then I was in the room and I saw him and I saw my mom, and then I was back in the waiting room like quickly, and that's kind of what shut everything off, I guess you could say. I don't remember really having too many paranormal experiences again, until I was like 13, like after puberty, which is ironically normal. When you do research in this stuff, it's like, oh, it's right around puberty people start, having experiences, or they start understanding their gifts, and that's exactly what happened. So, like, when I was a kid, I would be terrified to go into I would not outside. I would not go outside at nighttime. And if I went into one of the yards, I always had to have somebody with me when I was just like a kid. And so after my dad passed and my gifts started, I guess you could say, coming back, I would always feel negative stuff, or I would always just know things, especially with friends or if I was dating somebody. I would always just know things all the time. And then I could fully understand how somebody felt. And I didn't know it had a word to it. Or I would like see things in my head that like didn't see with my eyes, and I never understood why. Like I would know there was something like standing like next to me, or in the woods, like I could like feel it or sense it. And then in 2019, well, I've always loved crystals and stuff thanks to my mom. And in 2019, my mom and I were meeting up in this area that's kind of halfway in between our houses, because she still lives not in the house, but in the general area, because the house got foreclosed on in 2012. And so she lives about 5 miles away, and I live up in Schaumburg. So it's about an hour and a half distance. So we decided to meet up in it's an area called Tinley Park, and my mom just happened upon this crystal shop called Hi Ho Gems and Crystals, and she called me when I was on my way to see her. She's like, "Oh, Jess, we're not gonna meet up at Cracker Barrel. There's this shop that I found, called Hi Ho Gems. The owner said he's gonna stay late, stay open late for you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I met her there.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, right. And I was looking around at the store and everything, and the owner was like, "Have you ever heard of Reiki?" And I'm like, no, what's that?" And he explained like it's healing energy, pretty much. Like, people are conduits to help, then they help other people heal, like anxiety, sleep deprivation, even like cancer and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And then I remembered, throughout my life, like boyfriends or something, I would, if they had like a headache, I would put my hands on their head and their headache would go away, or stomach ache. And I never really, again, didn't know there was a word for it. So he was like, "You should come to Reiki Share. It's next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And I'm like, "Okay." So I went there to my first Reiki Share, and got my first Reiki session by who's one of my best friends now. And like I got the goosebumps, and it just felt amazing, and I was so relaxed, and I was just like, "This is awesome." And I was like, how do I learn how to do this? So I talked to the owner, and he still teaches classes. So I got my level 1 in May of 2020, my level 2 in October of 2020, and then I got my level 3 in, I think it was September of 2021.
That's awesome.
So I got my master's level then, and then I've always been into music and crystal sound bowls and Tibetan sound bowls. So I learned how to do that. Like I have 8 crystal bowls, and I think I have 5 or 6 of the metal bowls that I use for my sessions when I go to like expos and stuff, because they fit in the metal ones fit in my hand, so I can do it around their head or down their body. So that's what I use them for.
Yeah, I feel like sound healing goes just perfectly hand in hand with Reiki, right? They are both about like the energy and the vibrations of it all. And it's beautiful that, you kind of naturally just evolved into that aspect of it.
Yeah, I always explain the sound healing pretty much like us as people, humans, we're like 70% water or something like that. It might be higher. And there's studies that show when certain frequencies are played, like if a water is like on a speaker, it makes these really cool patterns, and it's more harmonizing. So if it can do that to actual water, why can't it do that to us, like to our body? And they've actually done studies of other frequencies, like 440 hertz makes the water really like discombobulated, and it doesn't form beautiful shapes. It's all messed up. And what's unfortunate is after World War II, all of the music they changed it to be recorded to 440 hertz, not 432, because before World War II, everything was recorded at 432 hertz. So, I guess you could say the theory behind that is because that's what Hitler was doing to help control the population, was he would pump out 440 hertz through I guess you could say the propaganda, and then that is a lot of, I don't know how to word it, the people that kind of rule everything were like, oh, we like that. So they changed all the recordings to 440 hertz. So, which is interesting. And even sound bowls today, you have to search for 432 hertz. If you just look up to get crystal sound bowls, it's 440. And I'm like, no, if I'm going to heal somebody, I need 432. And I had to pay $150 extra for that.
Wow.
I wonder why it changed. Like, why, like, so many. It sounds like it would be a bunch of different cultures and things that would have adopted it, right? Or was it just that at the time that was just what was selling, or was it something that was just adopted by everybody at that point?
I don't know if other countries adopted it. I know America did, because if you think about it, a lot of those scientists came over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if other countries adopted it or not. I just know about United States, that's kind of what happened.
Now, I imagine that because you mentioned that you like to do the sound healing around the various body parts that could use extra healing. And I wonder, what difference does that make? Is it a big difference that it makes to experience sound healing through like digital virtual platforms versus being in person? Like, I imagine it's better in person, but
Yeah.
does it make that big of a difference?
Well, I think it depends on the person as well as the healer. I've done virtual Reiki shares, where the person doing them uses sound bowls, and there's times where like I'll get the goosebumps, and then there's times where it doesn't really affect me. But when I'm like if it's in person, like I go to sound baths and stuff, I always get the goosebumps, and you can like feel it reverberating in your body. So I think it's like stronger. And then the fact that it's through a phone or a computer might negate the frequency a little bit.
So I've been doing a lot of experimenting with music and paranormal settings. So I actually just came back from a jail in Cripple Creek in Colorado. It was built in like 1901, and it was in service for like 100 years basically. But I play the violin, not well. I'm pretty
Nice.
bad, but but it's fun. So I think for me, like, I don't know if you have ever had any experience with music and the paranormal specifically, or has it just been with to help heal other people? Or do you think is there like any connection with that? Because I seem to think there is. I mean, I feel like I've gotten more responses from spirit from that kind of thing, but I don't know. Is there any correlation there?
I think so, especially if you're trying to like cleanse an area. A lot of more negative energies don't like the like harmonic tones of it. Um, so like a perfect example, I went to one of my friend's houses. She was seeing shadow figures and she was having horrible nightmares, and her kids were freaking out all the time. So I was like, well, I'll bring my bowls. I'll, give you a sound bath, and then I'll cleanse the house for you. So I played my sound bowls for about a half an hour, and about 15 minutes in, we heard a bang on the main door, and the door was like not far from us, and it's one of those doors where it's got the big oval of glass. There was nobody there. Like, I got up, I'm like, what the hell? And I went and looked, and nobody was outside. So I was like, well, that's interesting. And then you could just like feel the energy shift. And then after I did the sound bath, I went around and cleansed, with sage, and that was almost 2 years ago, and she hasn't had any issue.
Yay, that's awesome.
Same with my house. I use a certain pitch to cleanse my place, and there are times where whatever's in the house will try to make it to where you have difficulty constantly ringing it. And like I've had it happen where I'm trying to ring the bowl, and it just like whoop, it stops, and I'm like, oh really? And then I start again, and then it'll whoop, stop. I'm like, oh, you're being annoying right now. And so
A
I
little
just keep,
mischievous.
yeah, I just keep at it until I feel that there's nothing here anymore.
You mentioned having seen a gray when you were younger. Have you seen any grays or anything extraterrestrial since then?
Yes, actually. In 2021? Yeah, 2021. I found Stephen Greer's film called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. So I watched that and got fascinated. And what's interesting though is about a week or so before I watched it, I had a quote dream. I don't know, in quotations. I don't know if it was a dream or not, but I woke up and it was actually a taller gray. It was probably about 6 feet tall, and it poked its head into the bedroom, and it smiled at me. And then I ran over and I started like hitting it, and you're not gonna fucking take me, and I'm freaking out, punching it and hitting it, and then I woke up, and then I saw Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and I was like, well, that's interesting. So I started trying to change my perspective, because Hollywood makes you terrified of extraterrestrials. Like that's their whole thing. Like it's always ETs they're gonna come kill us and they're gonna eat us and all of that. Like, so I think Dr. Greer is right in how the media has made it very fear based, because you think extraterrestrial and you get scared. So I really worked on myself about thinking if I saw one again, and pushing that fear away and being more curious about it, or like thinking of questions I could ask, or being more welcoming. Because I mean, if you go hang out with somebody and they're terrified of you, would you want to stick around? No. So that's kind of how I started changing my viewpoint. And then about 2 weeks after I started working on myself, exact same quote dream happened where I saw the exact same being. It poked its head into the bedroom. It smiled at me, and I got really scared at first, and then I pushed the fear away, and then like it smiled bigger, and then it went away. So yeah, I don't know. I find that fascinating.
Have you ever tried to use your sound bowls to, I guess, put that intention for connection with extraterrestrial
Yep.
beings?
Yep, we so the way I do my CE5s, because I have a group that I lead, and we go out to the middle of nowhere, because where I'm at, there's like a lot of lights and light pollution and stuff. So we go out to the country, kind of more towards my mom's house, and so I start everything off by playing my at least one or two of my bowls to get like the energy and the frequency around us, like I guess you could say better, I don't know, or ready or amped up for what we're gonna do. So I do that, and then I use Stephen Greer's crop circle tones, and I play that for about 20 minutes, and then we do his meditation. So I do use the bowls in the CE5s that I do.
Is there so I feel like I've done a lot of random research on UFOs and all of the things and music, right? Music, the tones, the is there a specific like note, or is there a specific like because like I'm learning with all the different key signatures, right, represent different things. Is there something like that that um works better than others? Is there like what have you seen?
I think the tones that are more towards the third eye chakra and crown chakra and heart chakra tend to, I think those are better than like the root or sacral chakra, because if you think about it, the heart chakra is all about love. So you're getting that frequency, a loving frequency, because like again, if you walk into a room and there's like 10 people that are just terrified of you, you're not going to want to stick around. Now, if you walk into a room where it's nothing but positive, loving energy, you'll stick around. Third eye chakra, I think, is good because then that opens that up to receive more, like, because it's your third eye. So people have been able to, not exactly communicate, but when it comes to like paranormal stuff, they sense better, because we don't just see stuff in the sky. We've experienced the land spirits out there, because where we go is my shaman teacher's property. So the land is very friendly to us because we respect it. So they'll play with us and stuff. They'll play with our equipment, or we'll smell like vanilla cookies, or we'll hear drumming when there's nobody drumming. And then the crown chakra, I think, is good because it connects you more with like source energy. So I think those three would be the best notes for that. And I believe it's like A, B, and F. F is definitely your heart chakra, and I believe A is your third eye, and B is your crown chakra.
What exactly are crop tones?
Crop circle tones. So those are, oh God, is it 97 or 98? In 1997 or 98, in England, I can't remember who did this, but this person saw these three bright white orbs floating around this field, and then they disappeared, and there was a crop circle. And they went there to they went and filmed, and they could hear like these tones on the recording, not with their ears. They heard it on the recording. So the crop circle tones are that, and then they're sped up and then slowed down. And it goes for, I think, like 5 minutes. So I just play that on repeat for like 15 or 20 minutes.
Got it.
It's an interesting tone. It's like a kind of a jingle, but like a kind of like a cricket, but more mechanical sounding. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like if you could YouTube like Stephen Greer crop circle tones and you could find it.
I had a question about kind of going back to the beginning a little bit. Like you said, you were growing up and you had all these different situations, different just experiences. Did you ever like? How did you like connect that with just life? Like, were you just like connecting that with pop culture or movies or something? Was there something that you're like, or was it just something completely different that you're like, I don't know what to make of it until you got older?
Yeah, I was the weirdo. So the town I grew up in, my graduating class was like 24 people. I was the only one with dark hair and darker skin, glasses and braces, so I already got made fun of. I was, I guess you could say, like, goth. Growing up, like, people would always say that, like, I was like Nancy from The Craft. And then also because of where I grew up, I had an attachment. So I was really negative all the time. I was very hateful and violent. I was a cutter. I started cutting myself when I was like 14. Tried to kill myself. I always thought that like I was just like that. And now after learning about all of this stuff, more so the past few years, it like clicked and I'm like, oh my God, I had an attachment. Because I got interviewed for a book that's the correlation between trauma and the paranormal last March. And as I'm talking about a bunch of this stuff, all these memories would come back. And then I had like a couple epiphanies. Like that's when I was like, oh my God, I think I had an attachment. Because it was just like, especially I would have like boyfriends and stuff, and I would get more violent out of nowhere with them. So actually, a couple weeks ago, I wanted to see see if I could find some old pictures, because there's somebody that kind of wants to do like a documentary about all the crap that I went through there. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I got pictures of like the house or the yard. So I was going through some of my old pictures, and I noticed there's like 5 of them where I'm with a boyfriend or my first fiance, and there's a black mass in front of me. And back then, you just think, oh, it was the camera messing up. Now I'm like, oh crap, that's the attachment, because it was only in pictures where I was with a boyfriend or something. So it's interesting. And then it actually did follow me to the first time I moved out with my fiance at the time. We moved in with his mom in Kankakee, and it followed me there because I didn't even realize it or think about it until I got interviewed last year. Because at first they're like, oh, did it follow you? I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then I'm just talking about stuff, and then it clicked, and I remembered all the stuff that that happened there. Like his family members would experience stuff and would tell us, and we're like, oh, okay. And I didn't even think about the fact that I probably brought it there. So, yeah, that was definitely interesting figuring all of that out.
When do you think you finally got rid of that attachment?
I don't know. I just know that, so, yeah, that was 2006 or 7. I graduated high school in 2005. And then my fiance at the time broke up with me, like right on my 21st birthday, and we were still living together. And then well, that's when I died in 2008. I have rods in my back from scoliosis, and I was like coughing up a little bit of blood, and I ended up, one of the screws eroded and punctured my lung, so I was suffocating on my own blood. And then during the surgery, they took out a third of my right lung. During that, I died like 3 different times, and the first 2 times, from what the doctor said, I got brought back with the paddles, and the third time, I guess they called the time of death, and I came back, and I know my dad was there, so I'm pretty sure that, I went somewhere, but that it was still like after I healed, I still had very hateful, negative thoughts all the time. And then I started dating somebody else, and he was violent and negative. So that didn't help the situation. And that was like 2010 and 11. So honestly, not until probably 2013, I think. Because I started trying to be more positive and thinking more positively. And I was going to college and stuff too. And then things just kind of shifted and changed. So yeah, probably about 2013 was when it fully, went bye-bye. And then we also left that property at the end of 2012. Or no, beginning of 2012 was when we had to leave that property. So there's a realization I didn't even realize. We left the property.
It all connected.
Yeah, in 2012, and then about a year later, things started shifting and everything in my life. So yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it sounds like even just through you changing your own internal vibrations to be a Reiki healer and sound healing, I mean, nothing's going to stay attached to you.
Yeah. Everybody that knows me now, they're like, wait, you were hateful and violent? That doesn't make any sense. They can't see me that way because I'm very, very bubbly and talkative and, fun to be around. So it's so funny. When I talk about that, everybody's like, what? That's not you.
That's when you scare them and say, yeah, don't put me back in that place.
Right.
That's when you use your crystals to throw at them. No,
right.
I'm just joking.
You need Zen. Throw it at them.
It's really good for you, onyx, right to the forehead.
It just reminds me of, I forget that movie, Saved, was it? Where
No.
Mandy Moore's like, she throws the Bible.
She throws the Bible at her, right at her back.
That's great. So, you talk about the paranormal, you talk about the UFOs. It seems like it's kind of both of them are big in your life.
Yeah.
Is there one that you like to, that interests your life the most? Is there something that that you want to know more about, that you're more interested in, or is it kind of even?
It's kind of even, but I also have the viewpoint of everything is kind of connected. There's times where you might think you're talking to, quote, ghosts, but it could just be ultra-terrestrials or extraterrestrials or something, and we just can't see them because we can only see 10% of the light spectrum. So, and that's 90%. That's a lot that we can't see. So, and then also fae or fairies and stuff as well. That's something that has been talked about for hundreds of years, and it's pretty well known now that they're just in a different dimension. Same with Bigfoots. They go in and out of dimensions. People will see it and then it just shimmers out, and a lot of people reference the Predator movies, how it's camouflaged in a way, but you can still kind of see it. That actually happened. So now that I'm understanding a lot of this more, I wonder if I did experience Bigfoot there, because we would always have rocks thrown at us from the woods, and we would go and look to be like, okay, what the hell? But like it was 1.6 acres, so we don't know how people would get there, because it was wasn't like it was a park or a nature preserve or anything. It was our property. And so we'd go to where the rocks were coming from, and nobody's there, and they would hit like the propane tank and the driveway, so we knew they were rocks because a stick wouldn't make a ding noise. And then like people, like all the Bigfoot witnesses I've heard talk, they say they see like 8 to 10 foot tall black shadow with red glowing eyes, and the red glowing eyes means like stay the f away from me, go away. And I'm like, I wonder if I did see a Bigfoot and I just didn't realize it. And so the correlation I just thought about, so this happened to my brother and my fiance at the time. They were in my fiance's car. They were outside and it was raining, and we got into a fight. So I was in the house. We had one of those like really big like floodlights, like a yard light that like lights up a huge area. And I looked outside because I'm like, Jesus, it's been like 20 minutes. What are they doing? And I look outside and it's just black. And I'm like, oh, I guess the light went out. That's weird. Oh, they probably left. What the hell? That's rude. And then about 5 minutes later, they come running in the house. Oh my God, what the hell? What was that? What was that? And I'm like, what happened? And from what my brother told me, and my brother didn't believe, I guess he told me that he went like towards the yard and was like, I don't believe you exist. Prove to me that you exist. I don't believe in you. And I guess it did. He said that Bobby's car started acting weird. Like they had music playing and his car was running, and then it like sputtered, and then it turned off. And my brother said he looked out the window and he saw like it looked like the steam that rises in the desert, and he could see that the rain was hitting something, and it was like really like wavy, he said. So he could see the rain hitting it and was like, what is that? And he said that it looked like it kind of went above the car, and then everything around them went pitch black, like it blacked out the car. And my brother's like, I don't know why, but I locked the doors for some reason. And so that he said that happened, and then that's when like they were like, what is good? And they were like trying to get out of the car, and then whatever it was left, and they were finally able to get out of the car, and then they ran into the house.
See, your brother would survive a scary movie, because versus running into the woods to investigate, he's like, lock the door, make sure it's safe.
Right. Yeah, and then the fact that he was like, oh, prove to me that you're real, because Bobby and I would always talk about the stuff we experienced. Like, we would hear like people talking or arguing in the bathroom, but it was like they had their hands over their mouths, like it was muffled, and it was weird. And then stuff would get thrown off of shelves or moved, and then like the TV would turn on or off in the attic that was not plugged in, like all types of stuff happened there. And I'm sorry I kind of rambled with your question.
That's the poltergeist stuff right there, though. The TV's like turning on without being. That's my biggest fear when a TV's on. Like the guys know I have all sorts of like. I joke they're my ghosts of non-essential electronics. Like just TVs turning on in random rooms. I'm still kind of okay with that because I can logic things away, right? Like maybe there was an electric surge or whatever, but not plugged in. I'd be noping right out of that attic.
Yeah, I think, but to like fully answer the question, I think CE5s interests me a little bit more because I would love to come into contact with somebody or something that's not from here because people suck. But
You
like,
You're not
know,
wrong.
yeah,
yeah.
like the most excited that I've ever been is when I like see stuff in the sky. And then there was this one time where I got healed by ETs. I had like I guess you could say getting like downloads or upgrades or something, and because I was doing CE5s all the time, and my one friend, he would like come in contact with them more often, and like he sent me pictures of these orbs just chilling outside his house, and he lived in a populated area. So I was telling him, I'm like, dude, I don't feel good, like my head is killing me, I'm freezing, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, you're probably getting like downloads or something. Why don't you, tell them to ease up a little bit? And I'm like, okay. So I was like, could you please ease up a little bit? Like, I can't function. And then, like, 2 minutes later, I got really warm and I got the goosebumps of, something's around me. And then my headache went away and it was like a euphoric like hug from the universe is what it felt like. So like that happened and I was like, oh my god. And I messaged my friend and I was like, so this just happened. He goes, oh, I actually asked him, hey, could you go help my friend? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, so that's interesting.
That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
that was fun.
Are the people that you hang out with on a regular basis, are they more of the UFO kind of crowd, or are they kind of anything crowd? Just kind of let's just see what happens kind of thing.
Each I guess you could say each person is like kind of their own. I hang out with some people that are mainly ghost investigators. I don't like to say ghost hunter. So like yeah, they do ghost investigations and stuff. And then I have what's interesting is almost everybody that I know that is a Reiki practitioner and about like more about metaphysical stuff, they are more interested in the UFO phenomenon and like ancient civilizations that came in contact with extraterrestrials and stuff like that. So it's like the metaphysical Reiki people are all about like the different beings and extraterrestrials, and then I have my ghost investigator friends.
When it comes to the extraterrestrial, what motivates you to maybe overcome the fear sometimes when the gray is smiling at you, or to try and connect more? Like, what keeps you passionate, especially if maybe you don't always get responses?
um the curiosity, I guess, more so than anything, and like hearing about um different experiences. I actually have a friend who he was in Dr. Greer's documentary. His name's Ed. He lost his hearing in I think when he was in high school, and there's literal pictures of him with hearing aids. And then he went to a CE5 with Dr. Greer in Arizona in 2017. He can hear. They healed his hearing. So something like that, it's not the only reason, but that would be amazing if they could get the freaking rods out of my back and give me help me with that a little bit. And like hearing Ed's story about, what happened, is fascinating. So the fact that that's possible, and then other people have had like kundalini experiences or like stuff like that, like awakenings and all of that. Like that would be, amazing for, that. And then I also think that like people have spirit guides and you're guided and helped throughout your life. And a lot of them are extraterrestrials or I say star family. So like whenever I go out to my mom's house, since I can actually see the sky really clear, I always like look up. I'm like, "Hi, star family," and I talk to if they're there or not because if they are listening, then I might see a ball of light or something appear and might be able to communicate. So it's like the curiosity aspect of it, and then hearing about all these other people's like positive, amazing experiences that they've had. It's, I'm like, oh, I want that to be me one day. That would be awesome.
See, it seems like we've talked to a lot of people who connect to their spirit family or spirit guides in the astral realm, a meditative state, or when they're asleep. With you, it sounds like you are wide awake experiencing, them through signs within nature. So when did you first learn to connect to your spirit guides?
I'm not sure if I do, because I do try. And there's time. I mean, it could be them. Like I'll see the number sequences, and then the past like over a year now. Wow. Um, I guess you could say manifest stuff really easily. It's not like I planned it. So there's times where I just know that they're listening because then stuff just lines up perfectly. People say, coincidence or synchronicity. I think it's more of a synchronicity thing, and my guides being like, "Oh, see, we helped you. We're listening."
I mean, sometimes I do wonder for like the empaths, people like you, individuals like BJ. I sometimes wonder if we expect connecting to our spirit guides to look like what other people experience, talking to specific entities or individuals. And I wonder those that are on a different kind of empathic wave, because I think there are different types of empaths as well. I wonder if our connection to our spirit guides is the intuitive knowing. That is our
I could
spirit
see
guides.
that.
It's just
Yeah.
how we connect. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. Because I mean, everybody's different. Like I know people that they'll hear like a ringing in their ear, and then they're like, "Okay, I'm paying attention." Like there's times where I've like driving home from my mom's house, I'll just like see a deer in my head, and then I'm like, "Oh, I better slow down." And sure enough, one crosses the road a minute later. Like that's happened I don't know how many times, a lot of times. Or I'll be on the highway and I just know what's like somebody's going to do, like if they're going to like almost cause an accident. I just know that that's going to happen, and then it happens. Like my fiance's been in the car when both of those things have happened. Like we'll be driving home from my mom's, and I'm like, "Oh, I slow the car down." He's like, "What'd you do that for?" And then a deer runs in front of us. I'm like, "Because that I had a feeling."
It's funny you mentioned that because my day job, I teach driver's ed, right? And so I'm with teenagers all the time trying
Oh
to
God.
get on the highway and stuff, and they're actually pretty good. It's more the other people on the roads that don't care.
Right.
They don't give a shit about anybody else, so they just do whatever they want. And so it's always, and it's for those Dodge Ram drivers out there, it's you. It's always the Dodge Ram drivers, truck drivers. But
That's very
but
true.
anyway, I've had that. I've had that plenty of times when I'm driving with the students, particularly like in situations that could go wrong, right? Like merging. Like I've had it a couple times where it's just this big ringing in my ear, and I'm just like kind of feeling this like this could have gone really wrong, but like something was there, something like kind of, I don't know if it helped us, but it was definitely something that made us pay attention even more than we were, but we were paying attention. It was just kind of like you said. It's just one of those things that you just got to be open, right? Be open and listen and look for the signs.
Yeah, it's true.
You mentioned the rocks being thrown by Bigfoot, and all I could think that entire time, because I'm rotten, is like Bigfoot's like, here's your crystal healing. Um, Did you look and see what kind of rocks were being thrown at you?
Yeah, they were, ones from the woods or like gravel or something like that.
Well, darn.
No purple amethyst or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Adding
would have
it
been
to your
been
Bigfoot
cool.
collection.
Because I do
Right.
know people that have like gotten gifts from Bigfoot too. Like they'll find like a beautiful crystal just on their doorstep, and it's like, oh, well, this wasn't here when I left.
Although they should probably be careful because Bigfoot might be trying to, like, serenade them in its own way. Like, this is our courtship process. Here's your crystal. Now I'm married to Bigfoot.
Is that Beauty and the Beast? That's that
Right.
story, right?
Beauty and the Bigfoot.
That's going to be on Netflix.
It should be. That would be. I would watch that. Heck yeah.
Right.
You've obviously had so many connections with different kind of entities, whether it be a Bigfoot, shadow walker, whatever, right? Like spirits. What would your advice be to people who kind of come in contact with them in the first place?
This is actually, so I'm in the process of writing a book. The whole reason that I started speaking out about this stuff publicly was in November of 2023. Because I went to my first like paranormal conventions. I literally had no idea that this stuff was so well known, and there were so many people that were interested in this because I grew up very sheltered, and so like when I found out that there were conventions and expos, I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only weirdo, and so I thought to myself, I wonder how I could be on podcasts and stuff, and be invited to do these expos. That would be so cool. And literally that's how everything fell into place. And the whole reason I'm talking about this is to help people. So like I'm going to be speaking at, it's called the Paranormal Rockdown up in Wisconsin at Broadhead Manor, and my talk is literally surviving an attachment. And so, like, my advice to people is that no matter what you're going through, it can and it will get better. Just don't give in to whatever is happening. Like, all the self-hatred that I felt all the time, and, then feeling just nothing. So I would cut myself to feel something. Like, if you're going through stuff like that, if you have a lot of self-hatred thoughts in your head, know that it's probably not you doing that. And you should try to like sit with it and like separate how you feel and separate that. And then obviously if you feel like something's wrong, nothing wrong with saging or Palo Santo, or, try to cleanse yourself, or go to meditate or something like that. Like do small meditations or go to a sound bath. So like if you do experience like negative stuff like that, that's my advice for that. Because I think that's what has helped me a lot realize a bunch of stuff, is doing the Reiki and the meditating, and all of that helped kind of like clear my head and help me understand everything that I've been, that everything that I went through. And I don't really have that, nasty negative attachment anymore. I actually, that's why I stopped drinking alcohol, was because we would go out and I didn't know this at the time, but I was feeling everybody else's bullshit. And then I would drink to not feel like angry and depressed. And then that would, backfire, and then I would get more angry and depressed. And so it was like a vicious cycle. And I got hurt at work in 2018. So I was on pain medication for it. And I always thought it was weird that I would drink and then my pain would like get horribly worse. So I connected the dots and I'm like, okay, I should probably not drink. And that's what started me not drinking. And then I started to realize, oh my God, I don't feel like crap. Like, I don't have all this anger and depression. What? And then I put two and two together and was like, oh, I'm empathic and I'm feeling everybody else's shit. So that made sense. So I'm just like, nope, I'm done drinking. I can control it better.
Now, you help a lot of people with Reiki and with sound healing, and you're out there at these events giving these powerful, community building workshops. Is there anything that you do to make sure that you stay cleansed and grounded, maybe like on a daily basis? Or is it something you do when you're just, connecting with others?
Well, I try to wear like black tourmaline all the time because that negates like negative energy. I'm still learning, I guess you could say, not the correct way, but like the perfect amount of like protection or whatever. Because there's been times where we'll go somewhere, like we went to the Lizzie Borden house in Massachusetts, and when we walked up to the third floor, it felt like somebody spun me like a top, and I got really dizzy. That also happened at the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, and it turns out that we were actually across the hall from the most haunted room. Didn't know that when we checked in or anything, but like something was there, and then I literally said, "I know how to get rid of you. You either leave me alone or I'm getting rid of you." And then it left me alone. I didn't feel dizzy anymore. Um, when it comes to the events, I try to like envision like roots going into the earth from my feet, and then like a white light coming down into my head to like ground me more. And then if excuse me, if I feel like somebody's energy is like stuck on me, I call it my empath protection kit. So I have sage, palo santo, and black salt, a big chunk of black tourmaline, and selenite. So I will go outside, I will sage myself, or I will rub my feet in black salt, and it like releases if something was stuck on me. So that's another thing that I've been doing. And then one of my friends. So I went to this intuitive, I guess, workshop class. And again, the universe literally lined it up so I could go because I wanted to go, but I couldn't afford it. And I went to my friend's shop to do a free shamanic healing circle instead. Well, he didn't show up. So my one friend was like, "Oh, do you want to go to her class instead?" I was like, "Oh, I really wanted to go. I can't afford it." And then she was like, "Oh no, I'm not worried about it. Obviously, you were brought here for a reason. So yeah, come on." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And it was like a pendulum class, and I used to be terrified of pendulums because when I was 14, I found out that my dad actually died in the driveway, not at the hospital. So me being an idiot, I got a pendulum board, and I thought I was talking to my dad when I wasn't. So the class helped me get over that fear, but something attached itself to me. I thought I was protected, but obviously I wasn't. So I called my friend that held the class, and she could sense everything from however far away she was, because I was in my car in a Jewel parking lot, and she was driving, and she could still sense it. She goes, "Oh, yep, something definitely attached to you from the class. I can sense it because I had like the worst nightmare like that I've had in years, and I just felt wrong, like depressed, and something wasn't right." And she said that I was leveling up, so I was pretty much at the cusp of the next level. So I was at like a 9, and then level 10 would be going up to the next level. And she said that's where I was at. So I was protecting myself, just not enough. So that's why something was able to attach itself to me. So I'm still in the process of trying to figure out what is enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked about the pendulum thing. I did a human pendulum situation, what do you think about that? Is that dangerous? Is that kind of like using a Ouija board, or do you think it's not too bad when you're doing like um at a haunted place when you're trying to talk to spirits?
Um, I don't think it's that bad. It also depends on where you're at, because if you're using like a Ouija board or a pendulum board and you don't, close it properly, that's when problems arise. But if you think about it, a pendulum is kind of like dowsing rods. And this way's yes, this way's no. So I don't see, anything wrong with that. And I actually use a pendulum for my Reiki treatments. So I go over the person's chakras, and and I ask it, how is their root chakra, and it'll spin one way for open, it'll spin one way for closed, and it'll go back and forth for blocked. So that's how I kind of quote diagnose what chakras need help, or what I need to work on for each person. So I don't think it's really dangerous, but you always want to make sure that you're like, hey, thank you for communicating. You are not allowed to attach to me. You are not allowed to follow me home. So you need to like make that boundary clear.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty OCD when it comes to most things, and especially that. Like, like before I leave, I'm like, all right, this is the time. I'm telling you, you can't follow me, you can't attach to me. Like, I'm walking out of here without you, and you got to stay. Anything of not of light and love has got to stay here. That's the end of it. But when I've done it, I've only done it once, and I felt like rushes of energy hit me, and it was such
Oh
a
wow.
good experience, which was great. Like it was weird because I thought I would feel maybe the opposite. I didn't know what I was gonna feel. I didn't think I was gonna feel anything, to be honest with you, because it feels like for me like it'd be a kind of a psychological thing where it's like maybe I want it to say yes, so I'm leaning forward like in my brain, right? But like but then when you feel something external hit you, it's something that you for me it wasn't anticipated at all, and it made me laugh. I was just like, oh my god, like this is intense. Like okay, like all right, let's see where this goes. And we ended up hearing like knocking on the window, and it was kind of crazy. But that's why I'm
Interesting.
always like, well, if I before I do it again, I just want to just talk to people and make sure that it's something that, I mean, obviously you want to, when you're going in, you want to be vibrating high, right? You don't want to be like super depressed and inviting something bad in. But I don't know. I'm still learning.
But that's the question. Are you, when you're preparing yourself, are you inviting something in? When you are the human pendulum, are you going in with the mindset, I allow you in? And like to move me as we ask questions? Or are you really like, hey, I'm standing here, use your energy to move me externally? So if that makes sense. So I guess, how are you exposing yourself as a human pendulum? And do you feel you're able to be protected enough if you are saying, okay, come into me internally and sway me? Or do you feel strong enough in your journey to establish those boundaries internally for whatever may answer or come to you?
Yeah, I think for me it was, I felt oddly enough like my spirit guides there with me. Like it felt very comfortable. It felt very like a brush of like butterflies, right? But it like in that kind of a way. And it wasn't bad. It made me laugh. It made me joy. It made me like almost like not like just overwhelmed, but in a good way, right? And I think that was the thing that, and maybe it was because I shouldn't be doing that, that they were like, hey man, like here's, just letting you know we're here for you, but like maybe this is our way of telling you maybe you shouldn't be doing this. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I've never been a human pendulum, so
I think if you don't know, and this is just me personally, I think if you don't know if you should be doing it, then you might not be prepared to be doing it, if that makes sense. My only concern would be if you're like if you're protected, right? If you are protected to be in that space. So if you're not sure, man, I don't even know if I should really be doing this, maybe your protections aren't where you might want them to be. But I don't know, because I don't know what you're feeling in that moment as you prepare for it. That would be my only concern, is your space of vulnerability, especially if you're allowing yourself to be an internal tool versus an external.
Yeah, and it was definitely external. I wasn't allowing something to go into me. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like, if you go on a paranormal investigation, you're like, yeah, you can touch my hand, but you can't go into my hand. Like, it was kind of like that. It was more of that kind of vibe for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Trust your intuitive knowing. Do
Yeah.
you feel you should be doing it? Because I feel like that affects your vibration. I'm not trying to patronize at all. That affects your vibration. So if you go in with the intention of, I should be doing this, I'm okay doing this, this is, that your vibration, I feel like, is going to adapt to that confidence. But if you go in kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this, and that, I don't know.
Sure, no, and I wasn't scared. Like, that was the thing. Like, I wasn't at all, because I was in a room full of people that I knew, and I felt very safe. And then again, like I said, I felt, and even from the spirit box that was talking to us, like there was just things that were just like felt very like just comforting. And
Yeah.
but also it's one of those things, you never know. Like, it could be a situation where you shouldn't be doing it, right? Maybe an insane asylum where you never know. Like, it could be location as well, right?
Isn't that the nature of the metaphysical game, though? You never know.
Yeah.
Not 100%. Part of the excitement, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Jesse, question. If you could run into Bigfoot and have a conversation, another, not a gray, but some other entity that's from outer space, or a ghost, and have like a 30-minute conversation with one of them, which would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one. I've never really had, a full-on Bigfoot experience. That's one thing I would love to experience. But, like, if I could have a conversation with, like, an Arcturian, that would be amazing. Which is a certain type of extraterrestrial. Because I'm very, I guess you could say, like, starseed-ish when it comes to the Arcturians. I've had memories of when I probably was an Arcturian. So I especially because they're so knowledgeable, and obviously they, they're in space and they travel and have all of this knowledge. I would love to like soak up as much knowledge as I could from like an Arcturian or a Pleiadian or something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty amazing. I think, for me, I think we've talked to a lot of people, a lot of psychics, a lot of mediums, a lot of people who have been on similar, like, on the same page, right? Talking about all of these different entities from other worlds and or other dimensions. And I think the one thing that gives me comfort is that, I mean, they're not here to destroy us, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, I mean, maybe there are obviously some out there that want to take over whatever planets or whatever, but I feel like the ones that have been in contact with us has given us, or at least through our conversations, have given me some kind of comfort. And I don't know, do you think we should feel comforted with all the experiences you've had?
Yeah, no, I don't think if there were ETs that were trying to kill us, they would have done it a long time
I
ago.
mean, there's rotten apples in every species.
Yeah, yeah, there is, but I think we are protected by like a lot of other I guess you could say races of extraterrestrials, cuz like there are, good and bad everything, and I feel that bad is not like the allowed to happen to Earth, especially because we are still in the process of, oh, I don't know if that's real. And so, like, I think we're protected by more powerful beings. So, nothing like that, would happen. But I also think that there's, like, races of certain reptilians that have been influencing, like, the powers that be, I guess you could say, or Illuminati, cabal, whatever you want to call it. So I do think that there are reptilians that try to influence to make people more fearful and like deny certain aspects of extraterrestrial life and everything. Because well, according to what I know, like a lot of reptilians, that's how they feed on like fear. And if you're keeping most of the population in fear, obviously they're very happy about that, but they are not allowed to like kill us. Like they can't just come in and, kill a bunch of people, because then they would probably get in trouble by the good races that look after us, because there's so many interviews from people that like in the military that they were doing like missile tests, and a UFO would come around and like shoot a beam of light at it at different angles, and then the thing would fall from the sky. Like the missile would just like deactivate, and then they've been known to go to nuclear facilities and literally turn everything off.
You're trying to protect us from ourselves.
Yeah, pretty much. They've been trying to get us to not do nuclear anything since it got invented, pretty much.
I think it'd be pretty exciting to have a conversation with Bigfoot, because I feel like we have a lot of people that talk about their, one-to-one extraterrestrial experiences and interactions with other species. I still can't find one person, not to say they don't exist, but one person that's like, yep, I have talked to Bigfoot. We usually get we've seen them or we've heard them in a distance, but I have scrubbed the internet and I'm trying to find the person that says, heck yeah, I've had interactions with Bigfoot. We hang out. So it would be really cool. I mean, if we're talking about ideal.
You need to watch A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal, Bigfoot.
Did they talk to a Bigfoot?
Yeah, there are people on in that film that have talked to Sasquatch, and then I know somebody that has had conversations via like mind speak with them. And another person, her name is Sue Walker. Her and her husband live in the Sandia Mountain area in New Mexico. And there's an extraterrestrial race called the Ponte that have been in that mountain for years and years and years. So, like, telepathy is very, very big with extraterrestrials. So that's another thing that I've been working on, is the telepathy stuff, which I definitely am. I think that's how I know a lot of stuff that's going to happen is, telepathy type stuff, because it's not just, hi, how are you today? Hearing it in your head. It's more complicated than that. But yeah, Sue, she has conversations with Bigfoot like via mind speak. So that there's like an avenue for you to travel.
Yes. I'm going to be awake till 4 a.m. looking this stuff up, because that's, that's exciting. I want to know. I mean, don't we all want to know? What do they have to say?
Yes, and don't let them watch Harry and the Hendersons, because they'll be pissed.
They may have a good sense of humor. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, no, from what I hear, a lot of Bigfoot, they do have good senses of humor, and they pretty much are us, but naturally evolved. Because we got, well, from what I've heard, I guess you could say what I've researched, we got manipulated by extraterrestrials, which the extraterrestrials that did that were not supposed to do that. So I think that's another reason why we're kind of protected, because, it was, quote, an experiment that was not okayed and was not supposed to happen. And then the Bigfoot evolved naturally here, because if you think about it, they have the fur, they can go in and out of dimensions, they're very natural, like Earth. Us, you put us in a certain area, we'll freeze to death, or it'll be too hot and we'll get heat stroke, but them, they're able to like climb up trees and everything like that, and do disappear, and then they can survive in crazy temperatures. So they're more natural to Earth than we are. So at least that's my viewpoint.
Yeah, I feel like whatever activated us into our extreme evolution, right? It's just like, they're like, don't press the button. And they're like, I have to press the button. They're like, don't do it. And they're like, I have to press
Yeah,
the
pretty
button.
much.
They were tempted too much by the button, the evolution button. This has been a really awesome episode. I feel like time has flown by.
Me too.
And do we have any other final thoughts that we want to speak about before we wrap this episode up?
I just want to say thank you for coming on. I think just there's so many things to talk about, right? There's so many experiences that we all have, and I think we could get into. I mean, we could honestly spend a whole episode just talking about rocks, right? There's a whole
Yeah.
episode, yeah, on just the sound bowls, like just the different types of what works best to talk to what one entity versus another. Like there's just so many things to cover, and I just thank you that you were able to come on and just give us everything, just everything and more.
I only got into like 5% of my experiences too.
So what you're saying is we have to get you back on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Part 2. If you want to come talk to us again.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Now, Jessiy, are you open to people contacting you? And if so, where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to it, especially, if anybody wants to have me on as a guest on a podcast or something like that. I pretty much the best way is Facebook, and it's Jessiy Hawthorne, like how my name's spelled there. I'll pop right up, and the banner behind me is my profile picture, so you should be able to find me easily. So you can always message me on there. And then, or you could email me at totallytumbledcrystals@gmail.com. So I don't do too much social media. I try to keep that limited. So I'm pretty much just on Facebook.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you coming on. For those that are listening and can't see, it's Jessiy, Jessiy, last name Hawthorne. Thanks again. This has been phenomenal, and I can't wait to have you on again. I'm manifesting that. All right, John Thomas, you want to bring us home?
Like both Ashley and BJ said, thank you for coming on. I love hearing your stories, especially about the Greys. They interest me the most, so thank you for sharing your stories about that. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your hosts. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Miss Jessiy here.
Also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.